No, he may have had too much coffee before the show.
I think so, man.
Dak has another multiple interception game, but also throws multiple touchdowns. Here he is post-game.
We know what it takes in this league. You get hot, you can get rolling, and that's all you're looking to do. So that's my point about this is frustrating, but nobody's giving up. Nobody's been as shook as you can say from where we're at. We just got to focus up, get ready to go on the road, and got another good team coming up and do whatever we can to make sure we come out of victory, get even, and then we'll worry about after that.
Okay. Brew, what grade are you giving the Cowboys?
Well, let me start by saying this. I wish Dak was as impressive on the field as he is at the podium. He's great. I mean, he is phenomenal at the press conference, all right? Let me start by saying this. I'm not fooled, as some are, by the final score. Oh, they only lost by 6.
Exactly.
It was essentially over at the end of the third quarter when San Francisco went up 27-10. Yep. Now, they went soft under it, and I'll get to that. All right, Nick apparently was fooled.
No, I think I
mean, they did have a legitimate chance to win because they got crazy.
Of Dak is what happened at the very end of the game because they could have won. But I don't think it was nonsense because they did have a chance.
They had a chance, but it was
legitimate chance.
Yeah,
but go ahead. I understand what you're saying.
Right. Dak, I am also not fooled by his numbers. Because weeks from now, months from now, years from now, people will look at the box score and say, Dak, 250 yards, essentially 2 touchdowns. It wasn't on Dak. I mean, he wasn't great. He threw 2 picks, but it wasn't on Dak.
I hope
if
years
you watch
from now,
the
people
game,
aren't breaking this game down.
Hey, if you watch the game, what Dak did is what he has done for years. When the game is really in the balance and it's early and your team is getting behind, you're looking terrible. You're throwing picks, you got 3 and outs, you're not scoring. And then when the other team gets up big and they go a little softer on defense, not a full prevent sometimes, but not a full prevent for the most part, but just softer, Dak starts racking up the yards and even the touchdowns. And at the end of the day, you look at the box score and say, Dak was pretty good. Well, I'm not fooled by that, all right, because Dak wasn't very good. The defense wasn't good either. Brock Purdy, they had him looking like Lamar Jackson. He ran for 56 yards. That's equal to what the Cowboys did. Yes. Tony Pollard, anyone? Y'all rip me when I bring up Tony Pollard. My goodness, could they use some Tony Pollard down in Dallas? All right, so here we go. As I pondered what grade I wanted to give the Cowboys, initially I thought maybe a D, maybe even like a C minus. But then I looked at the context. You coming off a bye week, all right? San Francisco's just as banged up, if not more, as you. And this was a grudge match, a revenge game even for the Cowboys. So I said, I can't give them a passing grade. And as you mentioned, Wilds, it's my birthday. I didn't want to make a big deal out of this. But what's the best way? There's no better way to celebrate a birthday than with a cake. So here's the grade. And I can't wait to dig into this F cake.
What?
Because the Cowboys brought their F cake, F game to the game, and I brought an F cake.
I mean, it's wonderful. Before you dig into the cake, there are thumbtacks on it. Also, so this is unfortunate for a number of reasons. Cake. So I'm fine with that grade, and I'll give my answer in a moment. But
this is so silly.
I lied.
That's what it is.
Brew, I lied at the beginning of the show.
Oh.
I did know today was your birthday, and I planned at the end of the show to give you a cake of my own, and now you've spoiled it. I had this sitting here the whole time, ready and waiting for you. This Cowboy Brew. I thought you'd love it.
You got my picture, right?
Right, and now it feels like it's the shape of
That's the state of Texas?
Texas, yeah.
Wow.
I got him a whole Cowboy Brew cake, and now it doesn't quite work.
It is me.
All right, so here's the deal. The final drive, which in my opinion you glossed over a bit, was the biggest indictment. The final drive is why I advocated for the Cowboys to wait on paying Dak Prescott.
No.
Because a lot of what Bruce said is correct. That early in the game, Dak looked shaky when the Niners were putting it on them in the third quarter, and it seemed like had won the game in that third quarter. Dak was eyes wide like in the playoff game. But then Purdy almost threw that pick six on the play. They were up 17, the ball got batted down, and the guy would have had it right there.
Yeah.
And that could have flipped the game, but it kind of seemed like that moment gave the Cowboys a bit of life, because all of a sudden they score, and it's like, oh, wait, now it's a 6-point game, and if they get a stop, and they get the stop, and Dak immediately goes to how he was playing when the game was inbound before. Very first play of that drive, so it would have thrown a pick to Diamador Lenore, but Fred Warner tips it because he doesn't know he's behind him.
He threw it to like three Niners.
He threw it to three Niners, and so that
I want to interrupt real fast because Collinsworth said, and I quote, "I have no idea what Dak saw. 3 Niners in the line of sight." Collinsworth was like stunned. He was like, I don't even know what in the world Dak could have possibly have seen in that moment.
That to me is the worst part, is that Dak was mediocre early, then bad. And then, you're right, pressure off a little bit, defense a little softer, start feeding CD and you're cooking. And then the moment the stakes are back to something real, holy bleep, we drive the field and score, we steal this game. It was the perfect scenario. Down 6 with the ball, you're like everything you could have asked for, plenty of time, more than 2 minutes left, and immediately goes 4 and out. And so I agree with you, Brew. And the Cowboys, so there's 2 pieces of this quickly. One is Dak this year to last year. Last year, almost wins MVP, has a career year. This year, quite the opposite. We can show you those numbers, I think, but what you're going to see is a player who reverted back to all of his worst tendencies, as far as the yards per pass being lower, the completion percentage being significantly lower, and the touchdown interception ratio going from 4-1 to basically 1-1, 1.25 to 1.
Yeah.
And then here's the other part about the Cowboys as a whole, Wilds. They get blasted. And you're right, they come back. In the Ravens game, that was a real comeback in that they did have a chance. Like Ravens
Even though
in third.
you can blame the other
yes,
team,
this game they really had a chance, but it doesn't change the fact that how many games this year have you been trailing by more than 2 scores? 17 plus. Here's the full list of teams who have done it more than 3 times. It is the Dallas Cowboys. I think we can show it to you, and the Carolina Panthers. That's it. Panthers doing it 7 times, by the way. Yikes. But by the way, if this list was 3+ times, the only teams we add to it are New Orleans, the Jets, the Titans, the Dolphins, New England, and Vegas. All 1 or 2 win teams. Yep. Those are the teams. So the Cowboys just get blasted repeatedly, dig themselves in this big hole, and Dak's been a big part of it. And so I don't think the Niners that were on the field last night are a great team. They might be by the end of the year.
Amazing.
Right. And so there's no excuse for that, to your point.
Okay. See, and I'm happy he said that because you guys know that Nick has been such a defender of the Dallas Cowboys, of Dak Prescott, and all of that. And you didn't even get this great 49ers win, team. They're badly injured. And that's the thing. When you have 2 teams that are badly injured, you can't just blame the injuries. And everyone is saying that Dak Prescott's a better quarterback than Brock Purdy, right? That he's a better quarterback than Jalen Hurts. He's a better quarterback than Baker Mayfield and all of this. But yet all of those quarterbacks looked better with less than ideal circumstances, with more injuries. Look what Baker Mayfield did against the Atlanta Falcons. And I'm always hard on Baker Mayfield, as Tampa Bay Bucks and Baker fans will know. And yet at least he did something to consistently add some juice and fight. And he's missing his 1 and 2 receivers. He's missing his CD Lamb right now. He's got a ton of injuries. Dak now is going up against Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy's supposed to be nothing relative to Dak. Dak Prescott's making more money in a quarter than Brock Purdy's making throughout the entire season. Right? I mean, Dak Prescott's supposed to be, as Dallas Cowboys fans tell me, a top quarterback in the NFL. Brock Purdy's on his 3rd running back. He's missing his, Christian McCaffrey, right? He's missing his receivers are going in and out of the lineup. And yet, Brock Purdy at least is looking pretty legit. Brock Purdy didn't play a perfect game either, but at least he looked really competent. At least he was able to spread the ball around and make stuff happen. He was able to use his legs and extend plays, right? He rushed for as Bruce said, 56 yards. And then again, you have Dak, who at this point now had his third consecutive multi-interception game. That has nothing to do with injuries. That has nothing to do with the lack of run game. That is just bad quarterback play from Dak Prescott. His second interception where he tried to lollipop it into CD Lamb. CD just dropped his head and just was like, oh my God. Like, what the heck was that? And he just went right out. He just went right to the sideline and was like, no, I'm like, he was like done. He like checked out in that moment. I mean, like, cause it's like, what was that? And if you want to blame Bosa and the offensive line for his first interception, by all means be my guest, but it's not accurate. Right? I forget who the guy who ended up intercepting the ball, but he saw that the entire time he was waiting for it. No matter where Dak was going to throw that ball, whether he got all of it behind it, that was still going to be intercepted. He saw it the entire time. And again, if you want to say, oh, well, that was bad luck or whatever, well, it was really lucky that he didn't throw his third interception. So Dak has not been good. I think Dak would be better if he had a better run game and some more weapons and yada, 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 like all quarterbacks will be. But when you get paid hundreds of millions of dollars, you're supposed to be able to at least overcome some of this. Not every time. Like I always say, you're not supposed to be able to overcome this game after game after game, right? That's too hard. Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, Peyton Manning can't even do that. But it's also not supposed to look like this either. That's the point that I'm trying to drive home. It's not supposed to look like this either, especially when you're going up against another team that has not been playing well. The Rams were decimated with injuries. Matthew Stafford had nobody, no offensive line, no wide receiver 1, no wide receiver 2. He found a way to win. Right? That's the difference. That's the difference. So it's just, you have to reconcile with that. One, the Dallas Cowboys are not that good. Injuries or none, whether we include the injuries or not. And Dak Prescott is not this top 3, top 5 quarterback in the NFL. He's just not. He's really not. He does what I really reached a conclusion with. He has some great plays, really special great plays. And he has some really bad ones. And now Nick Wright, his huge defender in the media, he said that he was the MVP last year. He called for the Cowboys to go to the Super Bowl. If you know that he's now blaming Dak, if he's saying that Dak is a big problem with this, you can take that to the bank. You can't call Nick Wright a hater in that regard. Because he was defending and praising Dak and the Cowboys for some of these wins that I was like, I don't know about this, against the Browns and the Steelers and the Giants. And I was the one that was getting blasted by people in the comments saying, you're a hater, you're a hater, you're a hater. And then you see this and it's like, what is the defense? What is the defense? You want 2 CD Lambs? And that will magically make everything better? I understand he doesn't have a run game. I get it. That had nothing to do with these interceptions. That had nothing to do with his bad throws. Nothing. If you want to blame that as to why the Cowboys as a whole are struggling and not winning games, I could understand that. But it doesn't explain Dak's production at that point. It doesn't explain Dak's decision making. I could forgive bad numbers like the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes, where I'm like, listen, I understand that he has a lot of injuries and all of this, but like that doesn't change. The injuries have nothing to do with his interceptions. He's throwing terrible balls, and that needs to be pointed out. Just because he's Patrick Mahomes doesn't mean that we can't talk about it. I could understand why his numbers are going down because he's got no one to throw the ball to. So I get that and understand that. But that has nothing to do with the interceptions. And that's the argument that I'm making about Dak Prescott. I'm not saying, well, look at his passer rating. Look at his yards per game or touchdowns, whatever it may be. I'm not saying that because that would be piling on unnecessarily. What I'm saying is that whether he has the pieces or not, whether he has the run game or not, whether he has the O-line or not, he's still playing poorly, regardless of any of those things. And that's kind of what they're pointing out right here, is that under perfect circumstances, Dak can look pretty darn good. In less than perfect circumstances, or at a part of a game when you need Dak to step up, he simply has proven unable to do that. And that's a major problem. That's a major problem when you are the highest paid quarterback, the highest paid football player in the history of the NFL. That's a problem. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Dallas Cowboys, Dak Prescott, and where do they go from here? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.